If you are struggling with your blood glucose levels, maybe you do have type 2 diabetes, you're struggling with your weight as well, don't worry. I've got 9 simple tips for managing type 2 diabetes and hopefully getting that weight off as well. Tip number 1 is to fix your leptin resistance. Now, if you don't know what leptin resistance is, please check out my other videos and my content. This has a lot to do with balancing your hormones, and the overall inflammation in your body has a lot to do with your insulin levels as well. It's often that leptin resistance happens first before you even develop issues with your blood glucose levels. So fixing that leptin resistance is of utmost importance. Tip number 2 is to get some exercise. Now we know that exercise helps to decrease our blood glucose levels especially, and what the research shows, if you do some exercise right after a meal, especially a meal that is higher in the carbohydrates, that of course spikes your blood glucose levels, that exercise will help to minimize your blood sugar levels. Tip number 3 is to, of course, limit your carbohydrates, especially the refined grains, the refined sugars. A little bit might be okay for some people with type 2 diabetes, but certainly overdoing it with the sweets and the carbs is going to put a lot of strain on your insulin receptors, and of course will always be spiking your blood glucose levels, which we don't want to overdo over time because that can cause the insulin resistance. Tip number 4 for managing type 2 diabetes is to eat more protein. So this helps to, and healthy fats as well. So that combination of healthy fats and protein helps to stabilize blood glucose levels. I love seafood for this reason because not only do you get those omega-3s, which is so important for brain health and for leptin levels as well, but also you're getting some healthy protein and a lot of minerals as well, which is so important for balancing those leptin and insulin levels as well. And we know that eating a local seasonal diet is always best because your body, your mitochondria, your digestive tract, your microbiome is all influenced by your environment around you, and eating the wrong foods in the wrong season is not going to help in terms of your metabolism and your blood sugar levels. Tip number 5 is to decrease something in your environment which you may not have thought about, and this is not a food, but this thing increases your blood glucose levels. And if you've watched my other videos, you know that I often talk about this thing, and this thing is blue light. So especially blue light at night will increase your next morning insulin resistance. And this is something that was done in a study very recently back in March 2022. And in this study, they found the results demonstrated that a single night of exposure to room light during sleep can impair glucose homeostasis. And that was something that was, again, this is something preventable. You don't need to have lights on in your environment when you are sleeping because it will spike up your blood glucose levels. Tip number 6 is to use some herbal medicines that have been proven in the science to be able to balance blood sugar levels. One of them is African wild mango seed. One study actually showed that it helped to reduce waist circumference as well. So that's an added benefit, especially if you are a little bit overweight with your type 2 diabetes. That can help to shed off some of those extra pounds that you're holding on to, especially in the midsection, which is often, we know, the most difficult weight to lose. I also love white mulberry, a great herbal medicine that helps, again, to balance blood sugar levels. Gymnema Sylvester is another one of my favorites, and muscadine grape skins as well. The research shows that they really do help to balance out blood sugar levels. Okay, tip number 7. Natural sunlight exposure. So this is really interesting. In the research, it's been found that increased bright sunlight exposure may be associated with a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease by lowering blood insulin and lipid levels. So this is something that in the study, they found that those people that were exposed to the brightest light, sunlight, had lower insulin levels and blood glucose levels. So that was a really great result. And again, I'm always talking, get outside, and not just going outside. You do have to expose your skin, your eyes. So no sunglasses, and hopefully no glasses or contact lenses in the eyes. Natural sunlight exposure in the eyes, on the skin as much as possible is going to help your blood sugar levels as well. Tip number 8, some supplements. So yes, magnesium deficiency is definitely something that's very common, especially in people who do have type 2 diabetes. So something to definitely look into. You may need to supplement because there's not a lot of foods anymore that do contain ample amounts of good absorbable magnesium because of our soil depletion over time. So that may be something that you may want to look into supplementing. I've got other videos all about magnesium supplementation and what to look for, so you can check out those videos as well. And tip number 9, I always like to include the mind-body connection as it's related to the topic that I'm talking about. And with type 2 diabetes, it may be related in that mental sphere with losing sweetness, wanting to control things often. Think about either yourself, if you do have type 2 diabetes, or someone that you know who has type 2 diabetes. Is this ringing a bell a little bit? And just something to think about. I mean, it's not going to be for everyone with diabetes, but at the same time, are you hardened a little bit and losing your sweetness? And is that related in some way into why the type 2 diabetes was manifested in your blood glucose levels being all over the place? Just food for thought, something to think about. So there you have it, my 9 tips to help to balance your blood glucose levels and your leptin levels as well. I hope that these tips really help you. Now, for more information on foods that can help balance your blood sugars, please check out my video, Best Foods for Diabetes, Foods to Help to Balance Your Blood Sugar. I'll see you there.